Hey folks, and we are back. Hi Tanmay, welcome back. Welcome back, Anushka. I'm so glad you all are joining back for the next session. This is going to be so much more fun. We're going to be doing hands-on projects. It's going to be so much fun. I'm actually very excited about it. Hi there, Nile. Welcome back. All right, so there are a bunch of ways we can go ahead right now. Of course, I will do the usual introduction and everything, but we can also start with the hands-on part, get our hands dirty a little bit, and then I dive into the code that we are still left to go over. Hi there, welcome back, ELNGBR. I'm not sure how to pronounce your username, but it's very interesting. I'm sure you have a lot of reason to be used. Alina. Well, thank you, Alina. That definitely helps my life. It does. Alina, it is. I don't forget people who join my stream. So you're good. Next time you join, I'll know it's Alina. Well, welcome back, Vedant. We had a really nice first session, and we're about to second. Oh, yeah, sure you are. You absolutely are allowed to share challenge code and stream. Uh, no worries. Uh, Great job, folks. Let's wait another couple of minutes for people to trickle in. Hi there, welcome back, Asmi Hacks. I'm so glad you all are joining back in. It makes me feel so good. And I'm so pumped for the next session because I love playing with Spotify data. I know this really cool application that does a lot of, data analysis on the back for you. I'll show you the application in a bit. But yeah, so I'm thinking we start with some of the hands-on stuff. We start by pulling in some Spotify data, um, and then go to the, of course, code. In that, we'll be using both NumPy and Matplotlib. Once we do it, we'll of course understand a lot of code that we are using, and then we go back to the code tutorial that I sent you all earlier. Finish off whatever we browsed through. You might need premium to get the API key. Let me check very quickly. If not, you're welcome to use mine. Spotify API. Mm, I don't think you need premium to use the API key. You can do both free and premium. I just opened the documentation. I will open it again once we start, but you can do it if it's free. Uh, Oh, we're just gonna make a very simple visualization using Matplotlib, and then I'll show you some of my favorite projects that people do with Spotify. And yeah, that's it. We're just gonna have fun with the data. Y'all can go crazy. I'll give you all like 15-ish minutes to do your own thing with the data. Once we do the very basic Matplotlib implementation, then we'll go over this really cool pandas collab that I have because I think it's very important for you all to understand pandas because pandas is really cool in terms of really just being able to navigate your data. Pandas doesn't really do much to your data but just helps you navigate it in different formats. So that'll be really nice for you all to know and have a hang of. And yeah, I think that's a good sequence, Henna. Let's do that. What's the environment today? Alina, we're still doing collab. I hope that's what you were asking. Assuming that's what you were asking. So, since this is a new stream, though, I know y'all are joining in and it feels like we're continuing the first stream. It is a new stream, so I'm going to have to do some of the prerequisites of introduction, agenda, and the formalities. And we'll dive right into the hands on part with Spotify. Okay, great. And I do have answers to all your questions. I have them nice and chalked out. So, let me know whenever you're ready. We'll go with them. Okay. Great. Let me pull up a PPT very quickly. PPT. Where's my PPT? All right. So I had a lot on my agenda for data, but I'm realizing from the Python stream that we won't be able to cover a lot of it, which is fine because I think since you all have been joining for almost 3 hours already, we should do something that is, tangible for you all to be able to show, to be able to talk about. Uh, and if it's your first ever data project or data manipulation project, I really want to see it. So definitely put a picture in Discord, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you all want to. I love seeing it and love showing it off as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, so let's go. Yeah, awesome. So where is my PPT slides? Mm-mm-mm. Share screen window. Share screen. There we go. Awesome. Like I said, I have been making very draft PPTs for this section so that you don't have to worry about it. Hey Nasark, welcome back. I miss Nasark as well, one of my you know, active hackers, regular hackers. But no worries. I hope your work goes well and we'll catch up when we catch up. I missed seeing you at Hack this Fall this year as well, but I hope I can see you again at some hackathon soon. Well, yes, you can chat then. All right, great. Let's continue. We're doing getting started with data, not just data, but data specifically oriented towards machine learning. So we'll see what it means to navigate data from a machine learning engineer's point of view. All right. Uh, like before, ask questions why, how, what, when. It does not have to be out loud or in the chat, also. You can just ask yourself and see if you're really understanding what's happening. Uh, it's sometimes just randomly asking the question really helps. Okay. Agenda, right? So we're going to do a quick introduction, then we'll see what is a data, like how do I call something data. Then we'll look at data pre-processing, which is basically looking at pandas and numpy a little more closely. Then we'll see what's EDA, that's explanatory data analysis. It's actually one of the most fun things to do when we're preparing data and playing around with data. We'll do a very overview of feature engineering, data splitting. We'll do a case study. So the case study was the hands-on thing. So we'll start with that so that it's fun and y'all can y'all, because I know y'all probably had lunch right now, so I'm pretty sure y'all just want to sleep, and I totally get that. In that case, we will do the case study, which is the actual hands-on thing first, go along with all of this, and then circle back to the first activity I had planned. So what my plan was, we go through the PPT, do a little bit of web scraping, get some data. So that's your first project where you make a tiny web scraping application. Once we do that, then we use we do a little bit more of understanding of how what the data looks like, what data we have, matching it back to what we went through the PPT, and then doing the Spotify one. But I feel considering we had a lot of you know theory and talk in the first session, you'll just start with the hands-on Spotify thing because it's fun, and you all will learn how to use an API also, the Spotify API, which know you all can use a lot in your hackathons and if you all are applying for the fellowship in your different projects. And I'll show you what people do, how creatively they use it. Uh, and then we'll come back to the PPT, go over some basic terms, whatever, and do the web scraping at the last if we have time. And then if we do have time, we'll talk about piano, neural networks, and what we can do from an AI perspective. Okay. uh all right, let's see. Haha, thank you so much. But I think all of you all are my Valentines today for turning up and watching my stream. Well, it's also Saraswati Puja in India, which is basically the goddess of knowledge. So thank you, Tanmay. Uh, but okay, let's continue. Uh, Hey folks, I'm Ritvi. If y'all haven't joined my streams before, I'm a coach at MLH. I used to stream a lot. I'm doing this after a long time. So y'all will see me stutter a lot, speak really fast, forget what tab I'm on, share the wrong screen. So keep up with me. It's like starting all over again. I did my first stream over 2 years ago, and it's been a really long journey since then. But completely worth it because I have so many awesome hackers joining me, and I remember them giving me input, like each one of you all joining in here today. And yeah, I'm a maker. We did a pretty in-depth discussion on my background, which we'll be continuing tomorrow in the mini event. I have promised to give you all a virtual tour of this very chaotic workspace of mine. And yeah, I'm currently working with a little bit of glass. Again, we'll dive a little more into it tomorrow during the mini event because I realized we're really short in time considering the amount of things we want to cover. Okay, so that's a great question, Tanmay. I graduated in 2022 and I have my major in electronics and telecommunication, which is why I remember when I was talking about my digital signal processing project. So yeah, fun stuff. I love electronics. I love working with firmware. But yeah, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Let's go back to our PPT. And yeah, so we're going to do understanding data, but let's do the intuition exercise again, right? We'll take 5 minutes. It's 3:41 on my clock. We'll maximum do this till 3:47. I'm currently kind of freelancing between jobs. But yeah, you'll see where I end up in a couple of months. Yeah. But thank you for asking. I love it when y'all are so interested in knowing what I'm up to these days. All right. So intuition exercise, in case you all weren't here in the earlier streams or haven't joined me in the earlier streams, we do something called the intuition exercise, which is just something to get your correlation brains up, make sure that your neurons are relating concepts with absolutely random stuff, which is so bizarre that you remember it really well. All right, so let's start. All right, great. Thank you so much, Emily. I genuinely appreciate that. All right, folks. So, uh, what is your analogy, the bizarrest analogy that you have for data? Like, give me what you see around, so in case you all are joining us for the first time again, or you didn't join us for the last stream, some of the good examples we received for the same exercise. The question for that exercise was, what is an API? How would you, give me an API analogy from the real world, which has nothing to do with tech? So some of some of the people came up with restaurants, the waiters in the restaurants taking food from the chef, come bringing it to you, taking your order, going giving it to the chef. That's a great example. Then we had people talk about delivery folks, the gig workers who, deliver your food. And then my favorite example from my earlier streams has been siblings, right? You know how you boss around your siblings to do work. That's another really good example of API. So same thing you need to do for data. No worries, ethical code. We're going to be doing a bunch of hands-on projects and just play with data. Get data, manipulate data, visualize data. That's it. Unprocessed information. That is really well put, Elena. That's actually a really way to put it. Unprocessed information. It is the intuition game, yes. I love this. Yes, we're basically data to companies and corporates, right? We're a set of habits and parameters and whatnot. But actually, that's actually one of the best examples. Us, we're data. Uh, Facts, figures. That's a really good way to put it. Sazid the one. Amazing. I love that example, Tanmay. Thank you so much. Yes, raw food versus cooked food. Data versus data we'll finally use. Great, another great example, Alina. I love the examples you are coming with. Welcome back, Bite Bending Savant. It is, but I'm thinking, basically the first thing that comes to your head, right? When someone says the word data, what's the first image that comes to your head? It can't be a definition, right? It's like, when I say apple, you have a red apple in your head, right? Uh, it might not even look like any of the real apples you see, but this is perception you have. So what's the first image that comes to your head when you hear the word data? I love it. I love what you all are coming up with. Yes, data is like a rock on its own. It you can't really do much with it, but when you process it and work with it, it becomes a very useful tool. Uh, oh, did I? Thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate that. Let me quickly change it. Hmm. Are you sure I've shared the same link though? I have. My bad. Thank you so much for letting me know. Hmm. But it's the same link with an 8 in the last instead of a 7. Uh, but yeah, thank you for reminding. I'll quickly take you all over the check in process as well. But yeah, thank you. Number, bank balance, numbers, great, facts. Thank you, Emily. Yes, so the same, if you're getting the same link in the URL, just change the 7 to 8 and you should be good to go. Uh, awesome. Great job. I love the things y'all came up with. I am so proud of each one of y'all. It's like Legos. Okay. I like this. I like where Tanma is going with this. Beautiful folks. I love what y'all have thought. And now what y'all can do is as we learn more about data processing, y'all can connect the same analogies and build upon it further. Sometimes it may work out, sometimes it may not. In that case, you switch the analogy. But you have enough in your analogy stack now to be able to switch when a new concept comes and see which one applies to which analogy. Okay? That is a very interesting way to put it. Slightly complex, everything from which a result can be derived is data. Interesting. All right, let's move on, folks. I loved it. Y'all did so well. Y'all totally aced it, and lovely. Stellar Sky, lovely. Chandler Bing's job. Yes, data pre-processing. I completely forgot about that. All right, folks, let's move on. I am excited about hands-on, and here we go. Right. So I'm gonna exit the PPT now. I'm gonna stop sharing the PPT now and share a new collab. So let's all open a new collab. Um, in case y'all don't know how to, y'all can just Google collab, and y'all should be good to go. If not, let me know. I will send you a collab, and y'all can just make a copy out of it or log into it, and I think y'all should be good to go. I think this URL should work for most of y'all to create a new collab. Okay, so I've created a new collab. Let me share my screen now. So I obviously have a lot of code prepared. The reason I'm not sharing that directly is because I have my API keys and things in them, and I might actually show you all my API keys for a split second. But I know y'all are nice folks, and y'all want to take my API keys and spam my Spotify. I'll also show you a way in which you can request data from Spotify and just get a huge streaming JSON. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna close the window so that you all don't have to hear a lot of noise. All right, this should be better. Great. Sure, I do trust y'all. I trust y'all completely, but I don't trust the folks on the internet who might come across this video later. Anyway, so quickly, let's look into the check-in process in case, again, y'all are joining for the first time. And there we go. So this is the link that should be popping up for y'all. Again, if y'all are logged in, y'all should be able to see your username and profile picture. If y'all are not logged in, y'all can quickly create a account, and simple register and check-in should do it. All right, great. That's it. And wait, I have a feeling I wasn't sharing my screen, was I? Yeah. See, streaming after a long time, you can tell. Uh, right, let's go back and share the screen again. Present, share screen. There we go. So this is the link that should be popping up. Y'all should be able to see your username and profile picture right here if y'all are logged in. And here there should be a register and check-in button, which I just clicked, so it's not visible for me. And yeah. All right, yeah. So I'll show you how to get your API key also. Don't worry, we'll cover every step, every tiny step. Okay, so if y'all have all created your new collabs, give me a quick acknowledgement, and I'll give you all another 3 minutes for everyone to be on the same page. It's 3:51 on my clock. I will check back in around 3:54. Until then, I'm going to share my screen with the new collab that I've created. As you can see, there's a bunch of new features that I recently came across, like generate with AI. And if you all don't want to do this, there's also this collab AI, which is basically a chat prompt. So you can literally just, how do I filter a pandas data frame? And it's going to give you a nice code for how to do it, which is really cool. So we'll actually use this at some point to generate some web scraping code for us, because web scraping is fairly easy. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll be using Selenium, and we'll do this. This generate with AI hasn't been a very nice. I mean, I didn't like it much. It's not very intuitive to use. But yeah, the Colab AI chat definitely is. Yes, we'll be using the web API. I'm also going to share this link for y'all to be able to request the data from Spotify. Let me quickly pull that link up for y'all. Copy link address, minimize. And here you go. All right. You can go here, and if you're logged into your account, you should be able to request data right at the bottom of this page. Okay. The thing is, it takes a few days for the data to turn up. Once you do get this data, though, we can actually create a lot more. We can do a lot more with it. But today we'll be using the web API because it's a lot faster to use. Okay. So quickly, I'm going to rename this to GHW Spotify Web API visualization. So I'm going to show you a very basic version of what we can do, and then I'll give you some time to play around with it. Collab ready. Awesome. I'm guessing byte bending Savant is also ready. You already got the client ID and secret. That's awesome. But in case you all are joining for the first time, I'll show you how to create your web app and so on and so forth. Okay. But I like how Tanmay is ahead of the curve, and now Tanmay can help you all also. All right. So while this is there, this is definitely done, right? We're going to start with a bunch of code, and once we enter all of it, then in the last part, we'll go and play around with the web API. That is a good question, Mickey and 5. The reason I would discourage you all from using local Python is when you're installing or using web APIs like these, a lot of times they install their own versions. If you're not using a version controller for your Python, like how you have NVM for NPM, I would highly recommend against it. But yeah, anything about 3.5 will work, but I would definitely recommend using Colab. It's easier to debug, it's easier to stay on the same page, and that way you don't screw up your current installations, right? So the first thing we're going to do is install actually a package. So oh, you're using Conda, you're using, oh, perfect. Then you're good. Yeah, you can use a Python, and I'll tell you a bunch of packages. Actually, one package that we're going to install. So you're good. Okay, yeah, go for it, Mickey Yang 5. If you're using Anaconda, you're good. Okay, cool. So I have renamed my file so that it's easier for me to find later. Then I've created a new code line. Okay, what you can also do is you can add a lot of text and sections and subsections in case you want it for later, right? So remember when we went here and we added section, so this is a new section, and you can edit it, right? So this section I'm going to add, you know installing packages. Okay, that's it. Enter, exit, and I'm going to go here and move this down, right? So I'm going to move this down. Perfect. Close. Installing packages. We're going to install one simple package. So I'm going to do pip install Spotify, right? So instead of phi, it's Spotify, and run the code. While it runs, well, I don't know what else do you feel like using. I haven't checked if Apple Music has an API. Apple Music API. But I'm pretty sure you can use Apple Music as well if that's you're more comfortable with it. Why do you not want to use Spotify though? Do you not use Spotify, or is the API not very friendly? I can look into Apple Music as well if that helps, or any other specific API you want me to look into. YouTube Music. Let me check YouTube Music. YouTube Music API. Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. YouTube Analytics like data API. Hmm. I think you'll have to sign up for the developer console though, right? Oh, you just need to log into Google Cloud. Never mind. Yes, you can also use YouTube API. The only thing I see things not working out is because I have a specific data frame that we'll be doing, but y'all can definitely do that. So if y'all want to try otherwise, you can also do that. Um, Elena, if you don't mind creating one, I would recommend creating one. It's easy because everyone's going to be following along. But yes, if you're not comfortable creating an account, that's okay. Uh, Let me get everyone started and let's go to the point where everyone's playing around with their data and I'll figure out either YouTube or Apple, whichever works better for you. Yeah, you can create a free account and the free account works for you. But if you're not comfortable sharing your data with Spotify for whatever reasons or you don't feel like creating an account, that's perfectly fine. I'll figure out YouTube or Apple Music for you. Right? Let me know if what would you like me to do. Okay. Alright. So while Elena replies, we'll continue. Once we figure out the Spotify thing, I'll also figure out a bunch of other. It's a good learning for me. I'm going to keep a bunch of backup applications ready from next time. Okay, great. Let's continue. Right. So once we have installed Spotify, we can go ahead, add a new section over here. We can edit. We're going to make this API key section. Okay. Done. And then we're going to add code. Over here, I'm going to do a. You can add comments here. Again, comments are always appreciated. API keys. I'm going to add a client ID equal to. And then we're going to do a client secret equal to. Okay. And I'm going to leave this be a BKD. Okay. We're not going to, we'll come and edit this later. Okay, and if you all are more comfortable in smaller case, I'm just doing a bigger case so that it's easier for you all to see on the screen. But if you all prefer, we can also do a smaller case. Okay, then secret. Right, this is API section. Right, I forgot one section before this though, so I'm gonna go here and do section, and this is gonna be installs, right? Imports rather. So imports. Now, you all don't have to make so many sections. I just want to share this with you all later. So I want to make sure that you all have everything you can possibly need. Okay. So, good. Right. And we're going to do a bunch of imports. So we're going to do, of course, what we have all imported, right? So, the usual imports for data, which is pandas, matplotlib, right? We're going to be using that. Okay. So let's start with pandas. Okay. So import pandas as this is going to be your object, how you associate this. This can be anything, you can use anything over here, but remember all your methods will now be called using this. Okay, then we're going to do an import Spotify. We did install it for the reason, and now we're going to import the auth, right? So I'm going to import the uh, auth 2 from Spotify. Okay, and we're going to also do an import matplotlib, right? Let me see if I've gotten it right. So I think this is dot Spotify from Spotify client credentials. Let me quickly check if I've gotten this right. Let me go over the days, the chat. Hmm. Oh, so it's going to take days for that specific request data, but you can also use the API. Today we'll be using the API. So all you need is an account. Everyone can request their data today, and you can play around with it later because that way you get your bulk data as a user profile. But no, you don't have to go to the privacy page. That's just a page for you to download data at a later point. That's just an example to start with in case you don't want to use the API and you want the data downloaded, but we'll be using the API today. 5 days. You need to go to the developer. Sure. Let me reshare the link, and I'll share the entire Spotify process also. So don't worry. Forget Spotify for the time being. Okay. Anyone who wants the API key and everything, forget Spotify for the time being. And so OAuth 2 is basically going to help you log in using your credentials. Okay. Oh, you already have Instagram data, Anushka? Go ahead. You can play around with that. No worries. From No, that's not the one that I'm using, but I'm guessing even this should work. Let me show you the one that I'm using. Uh, okay, so I think I've gotten mine right? So, auth 2 dot Spotify from Spotify, ah, Spotify client credentials. Okay, so this is where you all should be. And let me run this very quickly and see if I'm getting something wrong. I think this is Spotify from what I remember. Let's change this also. Spotify dot o auth 2. Let me try. There we go. This should work better. Oh, I see what I did wrong. From this. There we go. This should work. Yep, there we go. So this works, and now we only need to get our final matplotlib. So let's get that imported. So import matplotlib. There we go. It already completes it for us. Now, again, this is your object. You can name this as whatever, but remember for calling all the methods, you'll be using PLT. Okay, cool. So our import section is complete. Let's run it, and it runs wonderfully. Great. So we are on the right track. We're going to leave the API section B and add a section over here. And let's change the sections order. Down and down. All right, cool. This section is going to be your fetching data section. Okay, and we're going to do code instead of text here. We're going to delete this and fetching data. All right, so what we're going to do for fetching data is basically called the API. Yes, thank you so much. I got it wrong. Thank you so much for helping me though. Thank you. Thank you, Asmi Hacks. Yeah, I'll probably open the. I should really keep the documentation open. Let me do that and probably not do it from memory. But yeah, I'll do that. Thank you so much. Right. Okay. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fetch data. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a bunch of IDs from our Spotify. So, for example, for the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to take a playlist ID. I'll show you where to find the playlist ID, and then we're going to take our user ID, okay, and then store the data that we're fetching from the playlist ID and the user ID into different information. So, track names, artist names, album names, and then from that, what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through it, okay, and append it to one single data structure. Okay. And then we're going to take that data and then use pandas to create a data frame. From that data frame, what we're going to do is we're going to use matplotlib to plot it. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be plotting the number of tracks against the albums or artists or whatever you want to do. Okay. Everyone on the same page? Absolutely. Let me put every piece of code that I use, right? So in the chat. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll eventually also share the one that I'm using so that y'all can follow along. Uh, I lost my collab. That's my collab. Okay, I'm going to share my imports also. I'm not sharing it right away because I'll remove my API keys before sharing, and then we'll continue. Okay. uh okay, in case y'all are doing this for a project, it's a good idea to create different variables for this. And to do that, what you can do is create an environment file. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get the access token here, right? So we'll do this entire thing later. So I'm just going to add get access token. But before that, let's just look into what we're going to be doing here. Okay. So I'm going to quickly get data for a specific. Let me just give you the code, right? So what we're going to start with is the playlist ID. So over here we have fetching data. So we're going to get data. So we have playlist ID equal to, we'll fill it in later. Okay, then we have, remember, we're getting the playlist ID. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get it from the user, right? So we're going to do results is equal to sp.user. Okay. We haven't called a method here for Spotify, but we can use that as an object, even though we haven't created one yet. Oh yeah, don't worry, Vedant. No one's no one's offended here. Okay. I'm also streaming after a long time, so I'm having trouble keeping a tab on things. But yeah, this will be fun. Okay, so we're gonna get the user playlist tracks. Okay, so let's use sp dot user playlist tracks. Okay, and we're gonna do this, and over here I'm gonna pass the user ID. Okay, so to pass the user ID, I'm gonna give them the user, and then I'm gonna do the playlist ID, and then I'm gonna pass the playlist ID. Okay, so for the parameter here is user ID equal to, and then I'm gonna have a playlist ID, and my playlist ID is my playlist ID that I have entered above, right? So this should be your way to fetch your playlist ID. So your entire data from the playlist that you're specifying, and your user. Okay. All right. Awesome. Now what we're going to do is we're going to store these results in the tracks data structure that we'll create. Okay. So let's create tracks equal to results. Okay. And we don't know what we're getting yet, right? So we're just going to do all. So let's do items. Okay. All of it. And over here, I'm guessing everything's correct. This does not sound right. Hmm. Right. So over here, as you can see, we're using the object SP. I was wondering why we don't have the SP object created. Over here, we'll create the SP object when we pass the client ID and secret and get the user authorization token. Okay, so we'll be creating this object over here, right, in a bit. So let's continue. We have this. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create the data, iterate over the entire data and create the data, split the data basically. Okay, so we're going to have different data structures for track names, artist names, and album names, right? So let's do that, right? So let's first create so let's go here and we want, what all do we want from the results, right? We want to plot the number of tracks against albums and artists. So we want track names equal to empty. Then we want album names. So album names empty. And then we want artist names, right? So artist names equal to empty. All right, so now we have created the data structures. What we're going to do is now we're going to iterate over all the data that we've gotten and split it into these three structures. Okay, equal to. Okay, so everyone on the same page? No. So, no, I know for a fact that we'll be creating SP object with the authorization token. So our object will be us fetching, first passing the client ID, getting the credential, and then passing the credential and making an object out of it. We'll do it once we get to the Spotify part. All right. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Let's continue. And now what we're going to do is, remember how we decided how the for loop works. We're going to basically go one by one and then append our three names. Okay, so let's see how that'll happen. Nice and slow, right? So first we have for tracks in, sorry, for track in tracks, track in tracks, right? So this is our first. Basically what we're doing is we're going over every track in the tracks. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to append it, right? So we want to do tracks name dot append, right? Then we're going to do album names dot append, right? And last maybe we're going to do album names dot append. Okay, and what are we going to append here? The data, right? And how do we split the data? Anyone? It's okay. So I'll tell you, right? We're basically gonna use the item list, right? So for that, we'll have to go to the documentation. How do you know what you're giving back from the API documentation? Okay, so append um, track, right? What do we want from here? The track name. So that's what's common to everything, right? So track, comma, the name, right? So this is through the documentation that I know that this is what we're going to be getting, right? So name, right? And the same is going to apply to all of this, right? Uh, I'm going to do track artist's name, track album name. Okay, same thing. So let me just copy this. Track. So I'm going to do over here. I'm just going to add another one, comma, and add a album. And sorry, over here this should be track, and over here take this, copy, And over here, it's going to become, oh, my bad. So artist, and this is also artist. Make sense, folks? All on the same page till here? Does this make sense to everyone, what we're doing here? Awesome, awesome. What do you need me to repeat, Tanmay? Awesome. What did you need me to repeat, Tanmay? So we don't need the track and name. The track is basically your key, and the value for it is different things, right? So you have the track, then you have its name, you have its album, you have its artist. So track is your main key, or rather your object, and then there's different attributes to it. Awesome, awesome, great job, folks. All right, so I'm hoping you it's clarified now, right? Uh, Great. Once we do this, what we're going to do is now we're going to create our data frame. Okay. So I'm going to backspace here. Why is this still an issue? Because this is track names. This should work out. There you go. So these variables here that you've defined, or rather lists here that you've defined, need to match your names here, right? That's why it was throwing an error. So we're good till now. We'll find the playlist ID and the user ID in a bit, but until then, we're good. We still have to create the SP object. So cool. What I'll do is I will complete the code, share this code with you, and then show you all how to add client ID. That way, you all won't have to worry about using mine. Awesome. So let's continue. Finally, we're good to go. So let's just create our data frame. Okay. So how do you create a data frame? We'll be using pandas, of course. But before that, I'll be creating a new data equal to. So what my data frame should look like, right? So first I'm going to have tracks, right? I think this is still single comma. Tracks, right? Then I have these are my table headers, right? These are my data headers. So tracks, I have albums, then we have artists, and all I need to do here is allocate them their variable name that we have already used to extract, right? So how do we do that? So this will become track names. Albums is, why is it throwing in it? Ah, my bad. It's not an equal to, it's a assign value. So this is album names, and artists becomes artists names. And this should be good. This shouldn't throw an error, and it's not. Awesome. Finally, we're going to call pandas and create a data frame. So how do we create a data frame? We're going to use a variable called df. Why df? Well, it does not have to be df. It can be anything. It's just that we are using data frame. So it's just a normal, it's a usual standard way to refer to a data frame. Because we are getting the element from it. Remember, it's a, consider it a multi-dimensional structure, right? So you have the track, then you have the artist name. The track has a number, so consider it a number. So track 0 has a track name. Track 0 has a album name, and that also has an artist name. Now the next track is also going to have its name, uh album and artist. Makes sense? So what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I have tracks. Okay, now in track 0, when you're iterating in the for loop, give me the track name, then give me the track album name, then give me the track artist name. Does that make sense, defendant? Correct. Because it's not just accessing it, it is also saving both of it. So you're saving the track, then its name, the track name, and then because when you now create a data frame, one of them is going to be your parameter on the left and one of them is going to be your parameter on the right. Makes sense? You're basically using the track to be your primary key. Does that make sense? Your track name will always be unique. So you're always going to call the track and then you're going to store all of it. So in this, when we're storing all of it. It has that. So track name has the track name, the track and the name. So which could be over here a number, right? Album names has the track, the album and the name. Does that make sense? Now, dependent, does that make sense? You're basically extracting all that information. Exactly, right? So you're, but not just that, you're also associating all those values, right? Awesome. So it's more of a syntactical thing over here rather than a conceptual thing, which I think you're confused about defendant, but don't worry about it. Okay. So let's continue. Okay. Next, we're going to create a data frame. So we have initialized a variable called df. Well, declared it. Then we're going to do pandas dot data frame. And what do we pass? We pass our data. Okay. So now remember, what do all of these have in common? The track, right? So that's a common key that they can associate themselves with. Okay. And hmm, I see what your question was, defendant, though, and I'm trying to explain, trying to see if I can explain it better. Hmm. Let's see if I can explain it better as we go. Okay. So this is your entire. Hmm, sorry, what, not pandas, rather the object that we called, which is PD, right? We defined the object here as PD. So I'm going to use PD. So yeah, PD.data frame. So this is your entire creation of the data frame. Okay. So I'm going to go here and do ash creating data frame. All right. So now what we have done, we have imported a bunch of things. We created the APIs and well, we still have to import the credentials. We will do that in a bit. And then we're fetching the data. We fetch the data and then we created a data frame using the fetch data. And after fetching the data, we also extracted the information from the, one data structure we had it in and extracted it into various parameters. And then we created a data frame using the same parameters. Okay. Awesome. So now let's go on to the next part and start plotting it. Okay. So let me go here. I'm going to add a section here called plotting the data. Okay. Nice. Now we're going to add more code. And over here, now we're going to use the data frame and we're going to plot it, right? So starting with album. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to do tracks per album. And then I also want to do uh artist versus album, and I want to do the 10 most popular artists. Okay, so let's see how I can do the 10 most popular artists. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do my data frame. I'm gonna call my data frame, right? Okay, and I want to plot my album names against the number of tracks. So album name, which is my x-axis, comes first. I mean, I can always change it, I can go around, but I'm going to start with album, and then I'm going to do the y-axis, which is the tracks per album. Also, I want to define the kind of plot I'm building. Over here, I'm going to do a bar graph because I'm going to have bars telling me against the albums what exactly the number of tracks is. Does that make sense? That's actually a good point, Vedant. I'm still trying to think of a better way to help defendant understand what we're doing here. That's exactly what I meant, right? So when you see what data you're getting from the API, when you read the documentation, is when you'll understand how to extract it. So we'll do it. When we go to the documentation for Spotify, I just don't want you to open like 5 tabs and then get confused on where I am. So let's just finish all the code here, and that way there'll be almost no confusion because you all know that you all will have the same code. Okay. Awesome. Let's continue. So what we're going to do next is data frame. So now I want the album and I want it to be a plot, and I want the album to be having a count of the tracks, right? So I'm going to do df album. Okay. This is what's going to be counted. So this is going to be a dot value count, right? So dot value counts. Okay. And once that is there, I want to specify the plot, right? So value counts dot plot bar. Okay. Mm, and is this assigning correct? Yes, it is. Okay. This is basically what my graph is gonna look like. Okay. Awesome. Let us continue. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna plot the X label and the Y section. Okay. So we're gonna do PLT, which is again your object that you have imported with the matplotlib, and you're going to give the X label, the Y label, you're going to give the plot title, and then you're going to do a plot.show. Okay, simple enough, folks. Trust me, it's very simple. You all will love it. Okay, so we're going to do a X label. Okay, then we're going to do a array dot Y label. Okay, so what do we want the X label to be? That's going to be the album, right? So album, this is going to be your number of tracks, right? So your label is going to be number of tracks. Awesome. And your plot title is going to be tracks per album, right? And now the plot title I think is optional. You don't have to do it, but when we're at it, we're going to do plot title tracks per album. All right. And let's just be nice and clean. Awesome. Why is this an error? I think you don't need this. Okay, cool. And awesome. And now over here, what we can do is we're almost done. We can actually start plotting it. So plot dot show. And that's it. So that's your first plot. The first plot we're doing is number of albums, tracks per album. And where is this? It's in a random playlist, right? So now if you get a playlist of a single album, this is obviously going to be like one album and the number of tracks. However, if you get a random playlist with a bunch of songs, it's going to differ, right? So we'll play around with that in a bit, right? What we're going to do another one is we want the top 10 artists. So how do you plot the top 10 artists, right? So you basically want a count. So you see how we're doing value count in album, right? What we're going to do here is df artists dot value count. We only want the top 10 though, right? So we're going to do a 10 dot plot. Again, the kind is the same. So we're going to do kind equal to bar. Okay. Make sense, everyone? And let's make sure that all your this matches the what you've passed earlier, right? So over here, I've passed albums. So let me make this albums. Let me make this albums, and we're good. Okay. Make sure these that you finally created, the data parameters, they match up. Okay. So over here, artists count bar. Good. What do we do next? We're going to do an X label and a Y label, right? So dot X label. Now you all know, right? Now you all can basically continue. I'm sorry, I haven't seen the chat for a bit. I'm hoping you all are following along. If there is any questions, let me know. Okay. Over here also, think you're going to do a dot head 10. Okay, because what you want to do is you want the value counts, all of it, and then you want the top 10, right? So you want all of them counted and then you want the top 10. Okay, if you do 10 only, it's going to give you the first 10 in no particular order, I believe, right? So you wanted the head 10. Okay, great. Now let's just put the labels and the plot is ready. X label, PLT dot Y label, uh, PLT dot title, and we have PLT dot show. So now we all can fill it here. You can also give quirky titles and whatnot. So my X label is again top 10 artists, right? So my X label will be what? The artist, right? So artists. Then Y label is going to be number of top 10 tracks, rather. Top 10 tracks. And title is top 10 tracks for the most popular artists, right? So top 10 tracks for the popular artists. Okay, and then we have the plot dot show. Okay, so we are done with most of the code except the credential code. Okay, so for this, what we need is we want the client credentials manager. Again, I'll be creating a random variable, passing the client ID and secret there, and then creating an object using them. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to our here, right? So before that, I'm going to create a client credentials manager is equal to, over here I'm going to pass the client ID and client secret using the Spotify client credentials object that I've created, the import that I made earlier. Okay, sure, let me explain that again. So the value count is basically getting you all the values along with the while keeping a count of it. Okay, and when you're doing a value count dot head 10, you're only getting the top 10 after the sorting. Makes sense? So value counts is going to get you everything. So once you imported the playlist and you do a value count against that specific variable that you're passing, for example, over here we're passing albums, right? So you're getting value counts, basically all the tracks in the album, right? The album has tracks and you're getting all the tracks in the albums, and it's going to plot the number against it, right? And then we're going to have a number in the Y label. Over here, artists, you're going to get the value counts, right? And then you're getting the top 10. So you're going to get all the tracks for the artists and you're going to get the top 10 listed. Make sense? I think bottom 10 there is a proper API reference. Middle 10, I am not sure. I've never tried it, right? Uh, but let me check. Let's finish this and then we can play around with it. I mean, we're going to give you all 15 minutes to play around with it and then you all can tell me what you all want and I'll look it up for you. Okay, awesome. So this hopefully made sense to you all over here, right? So we're going to pass this, that is, use this and pass the client ID and client secret right here. Okay, next over here what we're going to do is now pass this using our Spotify object, right? So we're going to do Spotify and then pass this as a variable. So let's do that. Sp is equal to Spotify dot Spotify and pass what we did here, playlist ID equal to playlist ID is what we're going to do here. So client, I've spelled credentials wrong. Credential manager is equal to client. So you see, I've spelled it wrong, which is okay, I guess, because that way you know that this is not supposed to be the same, right? I've spelled this wrong. I'll correct it later. But the point is, it doesn't matter because This is supposed to be the variable I'm assigning it to. Okay, and I think, folks, our code is complete. So now what I'm going to do is I'll quickly copy this, stop sharing, copy this and share it with you, and then I'll show you how to get your Spotify API key, playlist ID, user ID, and whatnot. Okay, -10? No, I don't think so. Nope, that does not make sense. But let me check and let you know. Yeah, exactly. I think there's a keyword for it. I'm pretty sure there's a keyword for it. So let me check that for you. Okay. So let me quickly share this with you, the code, in case you all haven't been able to keep up or whatever for whatever reasons, and you should be good. Okay. Are there any other questions at this point? And I am sharing this with you all. Share restricted. Anyone with the link? Viewer, commenter, copy link, and you all can do this. Okay, just make sure your code matches. I'm sure you all have done the right thing, so this should be good. And once you all are ready, I will quickly share the Spotify documentation. Okay, so let me just open a new tab. There we go. It is stale. Thank you so much for checking, Anushka. Code girl. So, and after that, if you all are up for it, you all can try it with YouTube and Apple Music. The thing is, we'll have to figure out how they return the value or what data structure the value being returned is. So that'll help. Okay. You can just enter it. So let me quickly show you where to get your uh, Spotify client ID and the secrets, right? So I'm going to do developer.spotify.com. Right, this is the web API and everything. So you all should be logged in. If you all are logged in, you all can go to the dashboard. Over here, you should see a app, right? If you don't have an app, there'll be a create app version. What you can do is GHW AI ML week demo. And for redirect URL, you definitely need a redirect URL. You can just put a random localhost URL and you should be good. You want to use the web API, you can select the others if you want to, but there's really no need, and you can just quickly hit save. Let me know if my screen's visible to you. My bad, it wasn't visible to you. So, okay, I'm gonna go back. So this is the Spotify developers page. When you go to it, let me share this link with you all in case you all have trouble finding it. Developer.spotify.com. We're gonna go here. You all should be logged in. If you all are logged in, you all should be able to see your name here. When you hit dashboard, you all will be able to see the uh, applications. Since you all don't have any, that'll be fine. You can just create a new app. We can do GHW, AIML week demo. AIML week demo. You can do an app description, learning data, fetching for EDA. For redirect URL, just put a random localhost URL, just an HTTPS local. This doesn't matter because when you're making a production app, this will be important because in case their authentication fails or succeeds, is where you're going to send them. You just want to use the web API for this, nothing else. You can select the others if you want to, but it's unnecessary for the time being. And you can hit save here and hit save. Okay. Okay. Once you do, it'll take you here and you want to go to the endpoints. Okay. Sorry, you want to go to settings. My bad. Okay. And when you go to settings, you'll be able to see all of this. So here's where you get the client ID and you can click on view client secret and you'll be able to see the client secret. Okay. Now you just want to enter the client ID where it is in the code. Okay. Let's do that. So I'm gonna go and put the client ID. Now I'll do the view secret in a different tab for the sake of my Spotify account, right? But I'm just gonna copy it. And what you can do is when you hit the view client secret, there's a rotate client secret that'll come here. So you can also do that. And you can always change the rest of the information also. Okay. So I'm going to go back, add the client secret in my code. Okay. Once I'm done doing that, I will now enter the rest of the information left. User ID, let me show you where to get the user ID very quickly then. Okay. So once you all are done with this, let me know if there is trouble following. I'll show it to you again. But until then, I'm gonna go to Spotify. Uh, I want to go to normal Spotify. So let me just go to web.spotify.com. Sorry, open.spotify.com is where you want to go. Once you go, it'll show you your dashboard. You can click on your account. Okay. And when you click on edit profile here, you will be able to see your user ID. So you see, this is your username, which is your user ID, right? Make sense, Tanmay? Did you get it? Right? So that's your user ID. Okay. So let me enter the user ID in the collab there. Okay. And once you do that, we can quickly get a playlist ID. So do you know how to get a playlist ID? For playlist ID, you can just click on a random playlist. Let me look at Toxic Google. And over here in the URL, I can't share my URL, but the last 16 digits starting after episode for a podcast. And if it's a playlist, you should have a playlist. Let me just share the window actually. This will be better. Uh, Let me share the window. It'll be easier for you all to see. Window, right? So this is the window. Right. So this is the window, and over here, this is your playlist ID. Okay. Now this is a random playlist with a lot of songs. So it's gonna 117 songs. It's gonna be a long one. So if you want, I'll take a slightly smaller one. This is my liked song. So this is the personal playlist. So I don't have a track URL. So let me just go to a random. So this is a generated playlist by Spotify. I'm gonna take the random last three and go to home. And let's go back to our collab and enter the details there, right? So let me stop sharing again, stop screen. So create an app data refers to an app we are creating, not for Spotify to store the data, but rather for us to be able to access the API. You know how you want, so Spotify doesn't know who's accessing the API, right? So to make sure, especially for your own user data, let's say I'm saying, okay, I'm giving my username, right? Now ideally, if I'm giving my username, my app should have access to it, right? So that client ID and token is generated when you do a create web app. It's basically just telling Spotify, hey, I'm working on some development and I want access to your API. Please provide me with a client ID and a token. Okay. Does that make sense? And if your profile is public, if let's say, for example, I don't remember if my profile is public or not, you should be able to request data from my account, like my username. But if it's not, you won't be able to. Right. But the point is that client ID and token is used to access the Spotify data because, well, it's not the most personal data. Playlist data is still people's data. Right. Makes sense, defendant? Does that make sense? It's not going to place your Spotify data, any data in that app, if that makes sense. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Let me share my screen again and let's go back to our code. Okay, share screen. I hope I'm sharing the right screen. Okay. Yes, I am. Awesome. So I haven't added my client ID and secret here. Okay. But I will add my playlist ID here that I just copied. And I'm going to go get my user ID again. Let me get my user ID. All right. I have got my user ID. Perfect. And all right, I'm gonna hit run, but I'm gonna have to enter my client ID and secret. So after this, I'm gonna try and avoid scrolling up. Okay. So let me see if I can do it on a different tab altogether. All right. So close. I don't remember the playlist I picked up anymore. Let's see. What playlist do I have? Okay, let's see. It's fine. I'll just add my client ID over here. Mm. I know you all won't do anything to it. I trust you all. Hmm. Is my screen visible? No worries. Let me repeat the user ID part. Share this tab instead. So over here on your page, you can go to account. And when you click on edit profile, you should be able to see a username here, right here. And that should be it. Okay. Let me quickly add my client ID while we're at it. All right. And I'm gonna scroll, get my client secret. This is weird. Not something I expected. Give me 1 second, folks. I don't think I have my ID right. Dashboard, demo, endpoints, settings, client ID. Client secret. Mhm. Something feels wrong here for me, but we'll see when the error is thrown. I can't really do much about it right now. Cool. So I'm gonna share my code again. Now I'm gonna avoid scrolling up. If I do, please remind me not to scroll up. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let me quickly run mine. I'm sure I'll get the same error if that's so. Uh, so I'm gonna do a run all. This was done. So this is gonna. Okay. Why is this throwing an error? Oh, because my bad, folks. It's not supposed to be user ID. It's only supposed to be user. There we go. This should be okay. Mm. I set a 0 here. I'm pretty sure I got the. Oh, okay. Because a song can have multiple artists, you're gonna have artists, and over here you're gonna have. You just want the first artist in it, so we'll just do a 0. Okay, this should fix this. Mm. df dot tracks name. Done. Module has no attribution data frame. Have I spelled something wrong? I have. This is the F. There you go. Problems with live coding, folks. And did that run? This ran very nice. And now we can run this. Let's run this. And there we go. This is the plot here, folks. Please let me know if it's running for you. My bad, folks. It's not user ID. It's just user. I'm genuinely sorry about that. See, that's the thing about live coding. It's just user. It's not user ID. So the parameter for user playlist tracks is user and the playlist ID. And the playlist ID is ID, not my bad. Awesome. Tanmay got the plots. It started an hour and a half ago, unfortunately, Arshad. But the best part is the recording's going to be available, so you can see it on YouTube or Twitch whenever you want. Thank you, Juice from High Roll, for letting him know. You got it! Awesome! Great job, folks. I know it feels really awesome when the code runs, especially when one has live coded it. Oh man, the amount of errors I got. Also, a defendant, you were right. There are supposed to be no commas here, right? You see, you were right. There is not supposed to be any commas. We're accessing the element of it. I was actually pretty confused when I was explaining. I was like, you're right, but I don't know why it's not making sense to me either. All right, awesome. I would love to see your plots. I would love to see what you all are listening to on Spotify. God, I've already seen my dashboard. Thank you, defendant, for pointing that out earlier. It only hit me later when I was sharing the code. Now I know this link is shared with you, and my client ID and the things are shared with you. Please do not spam my Spotify. I really like my Spotify. I would hate to be banned from it. So anyway, uh, I hope this was fun for you all. Was it? To some extent, at the very least. Awesome, great. We haven't even actually done any of the things we really wanted to, but I knew that some hands-on tiny project would help you all. Now you all know how to use the Spotify API to some extent, and you all can probably do it for your next hackathon project. I would love to see how you use the Spotify API. I'm glad you all had fun, right? I'm going to show you my favorite use of the Spotify API. Actually, a close friend showed this to me. It's called Volt.fm, right? So what it does it basically takes your Spotify data and just gives you these amazing stats, right? So it takes the data and then does what we're supposed to be doing with data. It really just mulls it over in every way. And I'm pretty sure I was sharing my data, but I guess it lost. Okay, so now it's taken my data. Also, this is me ice skating. But yeah, so it takes my data and it's going to give me everything. It's going to give me my top artists, it's going to give me my top songs, it's going to give me my top albums, it's going to give me my top genres, it's going to give me my taste, it's going to give popularity, decade, like the oldest song I listen to, the newest song I listen to, the longest song I've listened to, the smallest song I've listened to, and so on and so forth, right? How cool is this? This is and the person's not even using it for machine learning, right? It's just data that has been completely, you know, mulled over in every way, right? Shimari is a real person and she's amazing. Emily is awesome. You're an AI. Why? Why does Tanmay think Shimari is not a real person? My bad, folks. Sorry, I forgot to remove the comment. But you can see, right? So you can see how this person's basically this is supposed to be an open source project, by the way. It's a new project, not very new. I think it's been 2.5 years. But how awesome is that, right? Like you can take something so small and then mull it over and just do so many visualizations, do so much with it. Right. And the best part is if you open it with a friend of yours, they actually compare it. So if I open, like, let's say if one of you all signs up and I open your profile here, it will give me a comparison for you. It's okay. The best part is these things keep changing, right? So if people know my best top songs, I might actually be doing some marketing for the artist. So, but you get my point, right? So there's so much you can do with something so simple. And again, the person is not even using that for machine learning. It's just data, mulled over completely. But yeah, I love it and I'm glad you all had fun. So let's go back. We still have a bunch of time left, luckily. So we can still go back to our Python code, finish some of the advanced concepts. You all can make a copy of the code and run it yourselves and see if there's anything you don't understand. And if there's any questions from before the past stream or this stream, let me know. If there's anyone who's facing an issue running this especially too, feel free to ask. Not just me, all the hackers around you would love to help you. uh, So if you send me your Volt FM, or if you open my Volt FM link, my personal link, and in your account, you'll be able to see it. So log into your Volt FM, then take my account, which is basically Volt FM slash Ritvik. I'll make it. I usually keep it private. It's just for the tutorial that I have it on public. But yeah, Ritvik, and you'll be able to see my entire history against yours. So like you both listen to this song, you both are opposite listeners, so on and so forth. Basically, what Spotify Blend does these days. It's okay. I love talking about music. If you all ever attend one of the hacker hangouts I do, that's all I really talk about. You did it? Did you open it? Did it work? All right, awesome, folks. So I would love to see your plots, what you all have created. Please tweet about it, put it on Discord, tag me if you're putting on Discord. You can use the GHW chat or the GHW. I don't know which chat we're using these days. Let me quickly check. But yeah, just tag me if you all are putting on a public Slack, a public channel in Discord or on Twitter. If you're putting onto Twitter, definitely also tag Emily Chacks, because Mary will include it in her closing ceremony tomorrow. I'll ask her to do so. Okay, so just send me up Spotify your visualizations, and I'll make sure that either today's day review or tomorrow Mary's review gets a bunch of your pictures on the ceremony. That's okay, Emily. Again, I know this is personal data, so if y'all don't feel like sharing, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I would love to see what you all have plotted. And yeah, awesome. Okay, let's go back to our collab. Let's actually, you know what? Before we go back to our Python collab, I want to share the EDA example file with you all so that you all can take your time later and go through it. It's actually really cool. I'm very impressed by what Google has been doing with the example code, right? It's beautiful. Let me just quickly send you this. Share. My internet's a tad bit slow, folks. Give me a second. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about posting it. Or if you just want to post your plots without actually sharing any information that you plotted something, even that works. All right. I have so many collabs open right now. I no longer know which one I'm actually using. I should just sit down and clean it for a second. GHW, AI, ML. So this is again an example repo. Okay. Example collab. I have made a copy so that we can comment and view it together. So here you go. So let me actually share the PPT very quickly and go over the entire process of how data in machine learning really works, right? So, mm, you all are checking it. Please share it if you all are okay with it. I would love to see what you all are getting. It's become this new conference activity for me and other people where we meet at a conference or a hackathon. We get along really well. We end up creating a Spotify blend. I don't know if you all have tried Spotify blends. It's basically, you know, kind of like a Venn diagram. It gives you, oh, you have 70% same taste, 90% same taste, and what not. I remember one of my friends and I did it, and we got like a 70 or 69% match. And Spotify, with its hilarious like comment scores, don't worry, you can still be friends. You have 70% match. My Discord usernames Ritvik. Uh, I forget my the hashtag number, but I think they got rid of it, right? I don't remember honestly. Uh, yeah, it's Ritvi M. But you should be able to see me quite clearly because I'm one of the emulators. So I'm Ritvi from emulation Discord. That's okay, Emily. Now you have a good reason to do it just to generate data. So, how you compare is just take my ID and open it after logging it into your Volt FM. It will show you stats against yours. I have no clue what you're thanking me for, but I'm glad I could help. All right, folks. EDA. We're gonna be doing some EDA. So I just shared a link of the example collab I found. I love it. It's really well documented, and I was gonna share the PPT. So this is what happens when you haven't slept preparing for a stream. I'm not gonna do that again. But I'm actually excited for tomorrow's stream. We have a mini event and an IoT event. I am genuinely so excited to hang out with you all. Introduction, right? So let's start with understanding data, right? So data, please keep that the collab link on the screen open. We'll come back to it in just a bit. Yes, do that. Try it with Apple, try it with YouTube. Tell me how it goes. Also, try different plots. Maybe try, instead of a bar graph, try a line graph, see what happens. Yeah, it'll be fun. What do you want me to share on Twitch as well, Tanmay? All right, let's go. So understanding data, right? Data, okay, so let's go back. Okay, so right now what we did was basically we fetched some data using an API and then we visualized it, right? So we did a bunch of things you ideally want to do when you're using data or you're collecting data or you're fetching data for machine learning. Okay, so then may please let me know what you want me to share. No, this is a different collab link. This is the link for EDA, exploratory data analysis. Where did this go? Share, copy link. Let me share that link again. This is for EDA, okay? Exploratory data analysis. I'll tell you why. Because we literally did that right now. It makes more sense for us to follow up and complete it. But before that, let me quickly take you through understand the data process, like what happens, what goes into just preparing the data before you even start the machine learning process. Okay, no worries. Okay, so understanding data. So what is data? Like we already did a intuition exercise, right? We saw the data is a rock, it's uncooked vegetables, and so on and so forth, right? You all came up with amazing examples, but it is so much more than that, right? Data, before you can use it, has to be really, really, vetted thoroughly, right? So, first, we need to understand where the data comes from, right? So, there are sources of data. Now, even though there are a bunch of data sets already available thanks to Kaggle, Google Crowdsource, and so on and so forth. A lot of times you still want to analyze the data, right? So depending on where you're getting the data from. Now, ideally, I would have loved for us to do a web scraping project also and see how much more complex the data can get when you are fetching it from scratch. Although I did have a team this weekend at the hackathon create their entire data set from scratch, which is very cool, but it also takes a lot of effort, energy, and you need to think of a lot of variations, right? So usually data collection and data, just creating data set is an entire job. Okay, so yeah, six sources of data. You have APIs, you have web scraping, and then you have, of course, your normal databases, right? So, of course, connecting the database is the easiest in terms of just getting data and start to work with it. When you get data from an API or web scraping, you need to, like we did, we got the data, then we extracted it, then we created a data frame, and then we used it, right? So we did a bunch of stuff. So depending on the source of data, you want to thoroughly vet it in a different way. If it's a database, ideally it's a lot lesser effort because it already has a lot of things defined. It's easier to visualize it because the database is supposed to be already, broken down into parameters, right? What is data mining? Data mining is literally equivalent of, going around the web or taking a huge chunk of data and taking out what you want from it. It's like, if you know how we got a data right now, we got like three aspects, right? It's still very simple data to process. Imagine if Spotify returned, like, I don't know, a million, tracks, along with like 100 parameters, you would mine the data to what you really want. So you got the data, or rather, if it's such a big database, you'd ideally don't get it, you can actually access it directly. So you would go get the data you want, mine the data you want from a huge chunk. It's literally like, one of your game data is rock, right? So imagine if there's a specific rock you want from a specific, you need to go and mine it, right? It's literally that, in a bunch of 100 rocks, finding the right rock. That's literally data mining. So from a huge chunk of data, uh, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like big data, you've heard of big data. Big data is basically just chunks and chunks of data, right? You mine the data you really want. So let's say I Google has a lot of data about us, right? Someone who wants to make features for the calendar wants only specific data characteristics about us. So they'll mine that data and get it. Make sense? Scraping is different because web scraping is literally, a website can only have so much data, right? Because scraping is not even using the website's backend. You literally use what's on the front end is what you can access. Make sense? Or then you set up robots and then access user accounts and whatnot. But mostly it's limited data, right? So when you're scraping data, it's pretty limited. You know what you want, you know where you're getting it from. Yes, if you are scraping a bunch of data and a lot of data, then you'll mine from it what you want. But ideally and usually realistically, mining and scraping happen kind of parallelly. Okay, makes sense, folks? So that's talking about sources of data, right? Quality of data. Where are you getting the data from? I don't think that's an example of data mining, Nile. But I see what you mean, Nile. That basically, if you click on the recommendation, it's going to take that feedback and that'll be mined data in terms of, pushing the user to give you more data. Make sense? Does that how you mean it, Nile? That's actually fun. That sounds fun. Absolutely, Emily. You're welcome to come on stream and talk about it or use the chat, whichever you're comfortable doing. Got it, Nile. Right. So, how Nile means data mining works is like pushing or doing actions to create data and then get it. All right. But essentially, it's basically big data and you're mining data you really want. Okay. But yeah, folks, keep sharing if you all are working on something that's awesome, right? So next comes the quality of data. Depending on where you're getting the data from, uh, you want to go through it. You want to make sure that it's accurate. It's not randomized data or someone's not just, messing with the values. For example, if it's a sensor, data set, you want to make sure that the sensor was working the entire time, that someone didn't screw up with the sensor, or, the jumpers were in. So you want to check the quality of data. Now, obviously, you can't check the quality of data just by going through a data set, right? Because usually a data set has a lot of entries. So, but the quality of data means you actually process it further. So again, we come back to EDA where we're just visualizing it, seeing the data points, visualizing data points, and seeing how good the data is, what the variety of data is. Imagine if I'm telling you that, something, I'm giving you a very simple example, right? Let's say I want to build a machine learning based, light sensing model. So, depending on the light around, it changes the brightness of the lamp. Now, it is a very simple project, it can be done without machine learning, but let's say I want it to be that sensitive, right? If a person walks in and whatnot, if my sensor can't measure more than a certain amount of brightness or can't measure more than a certain amount of darkness, it's going to be pointless data, even if there are a million entries, right? So when I visualize it, when I see the data points, I'll know how the range is, how accurate the data is, and whatnot, and so on and so forth, right? Next, we have data pre-processing, right? So once you know that the data is quality or you visualized it enough to know that the quality of the data is verified, you do pre-processing, which is what we did. Basically create data frames, mull the entire thing out, see if you want to add more points to it, see if you want to remove some points. Again, funnily enough, you use the models that already exist to work and clean the data, right? I used NIR sensor to turn on my light when my that is so cool. But did you use machine learning? That's actually very cool if you used machine learning. I'm I'm so sorry that my taste is such a disappointment. But I'm so I think it's so sweet that you all are actually checking that. General chat. Someone tagged me. Oh, yay! Anushka shared her plots. I am so glad. Anushka, you did that. Has anyone else shared their plots on Discord? Not yet. But I'll make sure that Mary or whoever's taking the closing ceremony tomorrow talks about this. Okay. Okay, this is what Emily is working on. I'm working on a predictive analysis with data for the state I live in to predict how many people are food insecure in any given month based on historical data. The app allows for the user to add factors that affect food insecurity, inflation, etc., to predict how many individuals are food insecure. It's to help organizations get needed funding to help people. I'm really proud. You should be proud of this project, Emily. This is amazing. This sounds difficult because government data, no matter where in the world, is never accurate. So if you get it right, because you're gonna have to do a lot of data cleaning and data pre-processing. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're working with Arduino. I had a bunch of awesome people do some really cool projects this weekend at the hackathon as well. Hi, Hannah. Welcome to the stream. Oh wow, Fire SOS is. I haven't heard Fire SOS in a bit, but I used to love them. Uh, it is awesome. I love it when you all hype each other up. All right, great. Right. So data pre-processing is a lot of that. So let me show you what all counts as data pre-processing. It's all of this, right? Data cleaning, handling missing values, outlier detection. Like I said, if some data is very outside, it's like a very, very, anomaly condition, you get rid of it, because while you want to predict it, it's going to be easy to predict it anyway if it's an outlier, right? So you detect it and then you treat it according to the data set and what it really means for you. Data transformation, right? Standardization, normalization, creating data frames, basically mulling it over, right? Data integration, see if integrating it with the primary key, if you have a primary key and integrating it with another data set, it really helps in bringing out a better predictive algorithm, or it matches a different parameter altogether. Data reduction, opposite of data integration, reducing dimensionality, right? Making it simpler. And data discretization, basically creating more visible samples out of it, right? You're creating discrete samples of your rather discrete versions of your data. All right. That's not a small number, but I like the optimistic view there. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Is it done or are you still working on it? I'm so glad. I would love to see. So, if you all want to post about your projects, I know we don't allow self promotion in the server, but for the next 10 minutes, you are welcome to do so. Post about your machine learning projects or where you did a lot of data work. I'm happy to go through them. But that's so cool. I would love to know how you did the data. How did you choose the data? Hey Jessel, welcome back. Again, Jessel is one of the really cool hackers who used to attend all my streams. I met him at Hack the League a little while ago. Anywhere on the general channel. I think there should be a GHW chatter channel also. I can't find it, however. So yeah, y'all are welcome to use any of the common chat channels. I know there's a join GHW channel, there's a GHW hangout, there's hack together, which I think is completely different. So yeah, use the general chat. General chat's fine, I guess. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be like a GHW chat. I'm just gonna make sure that I have all the channels visible. Yep, there is an Ask AIML week, right? There's a channel called AIML week. Y'all can post there. I don't know if it's visible to you. I had to go into my channels and turn on the visibility, but y'all can use that. There's an AIML week channel. If y'all want, I can tag y'all there in case y'all are having trouble finding it. Yep, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Tanmay, what's your Discord user ID? Sounds good. Send it over. I am very happy to have a look at that. Right. So while Tanmay sends me his user ID, so I can tag him in the channel and he can post his plots. Let's continue. EDA is what we're going to talk about in the last 10-15ish minutes that's left. Right. That's basically statistical analysis, right? Mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation. Basically, again, mulling data, right? Data visualization techniques. So with the same data, you plot it in multiple ways and see if there's something more to the pattern, there's something more to it than what meets the eye. Then there is correlation analysis, what we did at the start of this stream. We basically see if we can correlate and help us understand things better, right? Tanmay, oh, okay, give me 1 second, Tanmay, let me tag you very quickly. Tanmay, I don't think I can tag you in that channel because I don't think you have access to that channel. Mm, but let me try anyway. Or thank you. I really appreciate this juice from Hyrule. I could have shared the link too. I forgot. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking too because I can't tag him. So, Tanmay, in Discord, in the customize your role, you can go and pick that you're attending GHW, and yeah, you should be able to see the channels. All right. Or you can check into the GHW. Oh, is that why I couldn't see it? Yeah, probably why. So if you check into the GHW, join GHW, and if you check in, you should be able to see the channel. All right. Awesome. Right. So correlation analysis is what we did at the beginning of the stream. Basically, seeing if correlating the parameters and the data helps in better, better data analysis, right? Like, so we already did the code to some extent, but I think that's most of my presentation, right? So we already did most of the code. We did the EDA. So let me quickly go to the collab that I last want to. Okay, let me quickly tag you. Big search. Search. Let me. Mm, I just lose channels so quickly. No, I accidentally. Never mind. Oh, Juice already tagged you. Oh, Juice is. Are you the same person who attends my hacky hangouts and doesn't say a word throughout the hacky hangout? Hmm. I recognize you. Hmm. Search. Oh, Juice also tagged you, Serge. Thank you, Juice. I love it when you all are so helpful to each other. You're not the same Juice? Okay. Well, whenever I do an FPH, there's a hacky hangout, and I'm pretty sure you joined one of them and did not speak a word throughout. I'm kidding, though. Don't worry about it. I'm kidding. I'm sure you were hacking. Thank you, Jessel. But awesome. EDA, quick EDA, and then I'll let you all go. I know it's been a long stream and you all have been hanging out with me really nicely. I'm going to share the link again for the EDA collab and then share my screen. Okay. So present, share screen. EDA. I love talking about EDA is because I think it's very real, right? Out of everything in machine learning, EDA applies to all sections of your tech. No matter what you're building, a little bit of data analysis can really help you all build much better applications overall. So let's see. This is a really nice collab. So they've explained really well what is EDA. Uh, and then they've explored, then told us what we're exploring in the EDA collab. They are, the person who's written this is a huge fan of cars. So they got a data set of cars from Kaggle. You can also get the data set for your local one on the collab. And then what we're doing is we're basically creating, so you can see that the data set contains more than 10,000 rows and more than 10 columns, right? And we will just explore the data and see how we can mull the data and visualize it better, right? So what he's doing is what we did, we load the data into the data frame using pandas. So you can see it's a huge data set, right? And oh, there you go. So there's the tail and the head that we were talking about, right? So df dot tail is the last five and head is the top five. All right, awesome. Then we can check the type of data type, so it'll tell you which parameter has what kind of data, right? Then you can drop the irrelevant columns. Basically, you can tell like, okay, some of this does not make sense for what I want to do. So you drop the columns you don't want. Out of the remaining data that remains, you can rename them to what makes sense to you. Now, this is completely optional. This is nothing to do it. But then again, it improves the readability of the data set. At this stage, all you're trying to do is you're trying to understand and correlate the data in your head as much to be able to better choose algorithms and better choose its fit. Okay, now you're going to drop the duplicate rows because you don't want repeating data. It's going to screw up your data points. After you drop the duplicate rows, you can do a count. Then you can run, now you can run a bunch of different mean median algorithms to check a bunch of get a better visual idea of what's happening in the data, a statistical value or the frequency, basically the discrete values that's happening, the samples. So you'll know that, okay, out of the 10,000 rows, 8,000 is diesel engine, right? So now you have a better idea of where the data is biased also, right? Uh, Awesome. So then what you do is you drop the missing. So if any value is null, zero, or basically does not exist or is inaccurate a value, you drop it. Okay, so that's next is what you do. There's so much you can do with basically pandas is what this is suggesting. Then you can also drop the missing values, right? So you can count them, you remove the datas with null or any values again. Now you can detect outliers by visualizing it. So when you do a box plot, now what they're using here is a different plotting library. Uh, and you can also use that at some point, but we're using basically box plots to visualize it, and you can see how much it's helping, right, and knowing where the bias of the data is. So you can see most of the cylinders lie in 4 to 6, most of your horsepower lies in 180 to 300ish, right? And now you can keep working on it. Next, you can plot a histogram. So this is what we did basically today. We didn't do a histogram, we did a bar plot, but basically histogram's different on a lot of levels, but basically a bar chart. Then you can do a heat map to understand and better correlate data. Then you can do a scatter plot, and yeah, you can basically just really explore the data down to its core, is what I'm trying to suggest, right? So I would definitely recommend and want you all to go through this entire collab really well. I have one last collab that I would really appreciate if you all took the time to go through before the next stream, that is tomorrow, which is a pandas collab. I again love it for how simple and detailed it is. Let's anyone with the link. Enter copy link. This entire, so you can see there's a lot happening here, right? They've used basically a bunch of plotting mechanisms and visualizations to do a lot of things. We don't always need to visualize. You can do a lot of it with just pandas as the person has done before. So this collab that I'm sharing, the last one I promised today, is gonna help you all really harness and see the entire extent to which you can use the pandas library. Okay. All right, folks. Yeah, that's most of the stream. I am looking forward to seeing all of your plots on Discord, Twitter, wherever. If you don't want to share information, that's fine. Uh, just send me the plot, remove the data, and I don't see anyone having posted yet. I'm a little upset, but it's okay. I'm sure you all will get to it at some point, right? And I lost StreamYard again. There we go. Right, there we go. I messed with the syntax. I got an error. Well, Tanmay, let me know if you'd like me to share the collab again for the Spotify visualization. I'm happy to do so. Let me see your error. Mm, mm. Maybe try a different playlist ID. I think it's more to do with the playlist. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for following along, even though you're already way ahead in the data game. But yeah, I would love to see how did you go about the data that you had for your application if you'd like to share it with us. Yeah. Thanks, Jessel, for tuning in. Let me share the collab with you again, Tanmay. I think that'll help you. Mm, let me close. I have so many of these open. I no longer know which one I want to be using. Give me 1 second, folks. Stop sharing. File. Open notebook. Okay, let me know, Tanmay, if this link works for you. Would I think Nila, we're already connected. I saw you send me a LinkedIn earlier. I've already accepted it. Uh, oh no, Jessel. DM me on LinkedIn. We'll figure something out for you. We'll definitely see where we can help you. Okay? But yeah, Tanmay, try this link out. Tell me how it goes. But yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for joining in, folks. This is awesome. I'm so glad you all could follow along. I saw a lot of y'all make plots. Awesome job, Anushka. Thank you so much for posting it on Discord. And awesome. Well, let me know once you're through. And I can't wait to see your plots. Yeah, Mickey, Ang 5, I'm gonna keep an eye out and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna wait until tomorrow afternoon until my first stream. Uh, and I'll take all the pictures shared until then and send them to Mary. Now, if you all send me after that, feel free to send it over a DM or tag me so I can, take it and share it. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining in. I'm going to close the stream, but we couldn't do a bunch of things that I would have liked us to do. But then again, I usually have a huge agenda. So we'll cover up a lot of it tomorrow. We have IoT and data. So we'll talk about how data is different in IoT and how do you go about. But we have the mini event first, and we have a lot of fun stuff already planned with the mini event. So yeah, can't wait, folks. Bye bye. Have a great rest of the day, rest of the evening, depending on where you all are. Bye bye.